Nice to see everyone. Tonight we are learning Parashat Balak, this week's Torah portion, the Torah portion of Balak. This is a very, very special parasha, since this whole story happens in a very, very odd way. Okay, before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone that tonight's class is for the ultimate merit of a local little girl that I'm sure we all heard about, that we saw as a community and we saw as the Jewish worldwide community what a great miracle happened yesterday. I don't know if anyone was following, but they were at under $800,000 by yesterday morning, and by noon they already hit their desired $2.2 million. That's a lot of money. There were over 23,000 people who donated, who participated. So again, that's the monetary aspect. As we've spoken about it in the past, that should always be the biggest problem. But now, B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully that the medication and the shot does take to the little girl, and may she live a healthy, happy, and successful life, and let her parents see a lot of joy and pleasure from her. B'ezrat Hashem, amen v'amen. So thank you to everyone who participated, and I think it's a beautiful demonstration of the unity of Am Yisrael, of the Jewish people, that everyone came together and really, really came through. We did what we can. We prayed, we gave money, and it helped. So I saw when I started climbing. She's local from Miami. Yeah. When the numbers started climbing, and I saw the GoFundMe. We always get a zillion GoFundMes, May we always be in the position that we're able to give everyone. So I saw it and I took it very seriously. I even shared it with everybody. You got it, and I didn't have a moment myself to go and donate. And then I see it yesterday morning climbing, and like going another 100,000, another 100,000, boom, boom. I quickly rushed home to go give my little donation because I at least wanted to be part of such a beautiful unity of Klal Yisrael. So if you also partook, Hashem bless you. If you partook in your tefillot, also may Hashem bless you, that see how beautiful Am Yisrael comes together. And may we see no more hardship, but when there is struggles, may we always see Bnei Yisrael come together and stand as one. Amen v'amen. So listen to something so interesting about this week's Torah portion. And this is before we get into the Zera Shimshon, because anyone who's listening in tonight, anyone who's here, anyone who's tuning in, you're in for a very special treat on something that we may take for granted. Before that, this whole story of the king of Moab, his name is Balak, okay? He despises the Jewish people. He's not the only, we have to say that. However, he took it to the next level. He said, how am I going to beat these people? He says, okay, they're a spiritual people. They have a spiritual connection with their God. Let me fight fire with fire. Okay? Let me fight spirituality with spirituality. So you know what he does? He goes out and seeks to hire the greatest sorcerer the world has ever seen. And his name was Balaam, the son of Beor. The famous Balaam. His tongue was so powerful that whatever he said took place. Any curse that he cursed someone took place. He would rent himself out for cursing services, and he became very, very wealthy doing so. So Balak and his advisors, they say, we have to hire the best. Being a king could afford anything. We have to hire the best. Now Balaam, if you remember, is so great. He is not the first time we see him. This is the first time we see him in Scripture. But the Midrash tells us he's been around. He was Paro's advisor, one of Paro's 3 advisors from long ago. And therefore, Balak says, I need him. He goes and he sends messengers. The messenger said we can't get him. He sends them back and he says, we will give him a full house of gold. We'll give him everything he needs. And finally, the money persuaded him. Balaam didn't want to go against God. He didn't want to curse the people of God because he saw how great they were. He saw that they came out of Egypt. He saw all of the fascinating things that God did on their behalf. So he would curse anybody, but he didn't want to curse the Jews. But he caved in, and I guess the shine of the gold, made him really want to give up on his morality and his ethics, and he did what he knows that he shouldn't have done. Okay. The story continues. And Balaam suggests to Balak, let's bring some sacrifices to God and beseech God to curse his own children. As ridiculous as that sounds. So Balak tells him, go ahead, let's take 42 animals. And that's the amount of animals that were sacrificed to God by Balaam on behalf of King Balak. By the way, those sacrifices is what actually gave Balak the merit of being a patriarch of Ruth, who comes from Moab, Balak, king of Moab, who was the great-grandmother of King David. So even though he had an evil intention and a wrong concept in his mind, still since he did something, he brought sacrifices to God, he still had a merit from that, as wicked as he was, and as crooked of an intention that was. Now, listen to the interesting fact. The Ma'am Loez speaks about and says, this whole story of Balak and Balaam was a story that was not privy to the Jewish people. They didn't know what was happening. Can you imagine someone's trying to curse you, your whole family, your whole nation? You don't even know about it. You only know about it after the fact. Even Moses didn't know when it was happening. To show us. And everything worked out, right? To show us that there are so many things in life we don't know. We don't know everything. We barely know anything. Whether it's other people who try to harm us, whether it's the calculations of God of the way things happen in our life, the good, the bad, the hard, the easy, whether it's in spiritual realms, whether it's in physical realms. Do you think you really, when you breathe in a nice gasp of air, you don't think there are any molecules or bugs or allergens that you're breathing in? If you would know, would you do that? No! There's so many things we don't know and we don't see, and it's to our benefit. And it's to our benefit only when we put our lives in the hands of God, when we surrender to God, knowing that everything that happens around us, we don't always know. And that was the same by the Jewish people. Yeah, they saw the clouds, they saw the man, they saw the water from the well. It looked like they knew what was going on. There was so much more going on they didn't even know. And this whole episode, only after the fact, Moses let them know what was going on. So this guy Balaam, the commentaries refer to Balaam as the nemesis of Moses. His potential, the Talmud says, was even greater than Moses' own potential. The problem is that Balaam stooped to impurity, stooped to sorcery. Why was Balaam even given to the nations of the world? Specifically so. God never wanted the other nations to come and say, it's not fair you chose the Jews, because you gave the Jews someone so great, you gave them Moses. So in order for the nations of the world never to come to God and say, it's not fair, you didn't give us such a great leader, he gave them Balaam, which had a greater potential than Moses. Fascinating, huh? Having said that, comes the moment of truth. He's getting paid big bucks, as we say. Okay? Comes the moment that he is to curse the Jewish people. Can you imagine Balaam and Balak standing on top of a mountain, overlooking the complete encampment of the Jewish people, their tents? And he's like, okay, Balak tells Balaam, give everything you got to them. Curse them out. I want to see them drop on the spot. I want to see a lightning bolt. I want to see fire. I want to see something dramatic. I want to see my money's worth. And you know what happens? Balaam's like, okay, I'll do it. He opens his mouth and he blesses the Jewish people. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what Balak is feeling at that moment? He went through all the hardships to get this guy over here to curse the Jewish people, and instead of what he expected, He's blessing them. Not one blessing, not two blessings. Does anyone know how many blessings he blessed the Jewish people with? So before I tell you that, let me tell you what he intended on doing. In Balaam's mind, he wanted to curse them. He knew it was the wrong thing to do, but his intention was to curse the Jewish people. He had 10 curses prepared. And each of these 10 curses that he prepared, instead of it coming out as a curse, he blessed that it should be so. That's how fascinating this was. Now Balaam knew that his connection to God and his power of his tongue was only through his connection that he had to God. So he knew what a blessing or a curse should be. So he thought out and he said, these are the 10 curses I'm going to curse the Jewish people. When he connected to God for his nivwa, for his prophecy, they came out as blessings. But why did that happen? We're going to go through in a moment all 10 of them. They're fascinating. But how come did this happen? So our commentaries say that at the moment that he was about to curse the Jewish people, he fell down on his face. I'll read you the verse. The verse is in chapter 24, verse 4. It says, Ne'um shomea imre'el asher machazeh shadai yehezeh nofel uglu yenayim. He says, now behold, I'm hearing the words of God, that he's going to show me, and he falls on his eyes. What does that mean, he's falling on his eyes? Our commentaries say that as holy or as much potential Balaam had, he was still uncircumcised. He was still arel. Okay? Now, even though goyim don't have an obligation to circumcise, there's still a factor of impurity that is on them while they are non-circumcised. So he fell on his face. The Midrash says, you know why he fell on his face? He fell on his face because falling on one's face covers their uncircumcised brit. He was having a revelation from God and he fell flat on his face. Listen to the last 4 letters of the last 4 words. Sorry, the last letter of the last 4 words of this verse. We said the 4 last words are Yechezeh nofel uglui enayim. Backwards, the last letter of each word is Mem, Yud, Lamed, He, which spells Milah, for Brit Milah. But it was backwards, he didn't have it. So he fell flat on his face, covering it. He couldn't take the heat. He couldn't take the prophecy, the connection to God at such a high level. Similarly, King Solomon was approached by the Sheba queen, and she tested him. She said, I'm going to bring in front of you a slew of men dressed, and you're going to tell me which one is circumcised and which one's not circumcised. You are the smartest man that ever walked the face of the earth. That's you, King Solomon. You know what he did? He told the Kohen Gadol, open up the curtains of the Hechal, of where the Kodesh HaKodashim is, the Holy of Holies, and that will help me. What happened at that moment? All of the ones who were uncircumcised, they fell flat on their faces. And the ones who were circumcised stayed up. Where did he get this from? He got it from Balaam. Because the Shekhinah, God's presence, was in the Kodesh HaKodashim. When it came out, when it was so, revealed out to the world, the curtain was opened. Those who were not circumcised couldn't take the heat, they fell down. So Balaam was stuck because he had this covering, he had this blockage of being uncircumcised that he couldn't even take that power and that connection that he was about to have with God. So now let's move on. Let's see, what are those 10 curses Balaam had intention to curse the Jewish people that turned into blessing? Number 1, he wanted to curse the Jewish people that they should have no more synagogues and no more places of study. No more yeshivas, no more kollels, no more bet midrash, no more bet knesset. None of the above. What words came out of his mouth? Matovu ohalecha Yaakov. How great are the tents of Jacob. Meaning the synagogues and the study halls, the yeshivas. So he wanted to curse them that they should never have them. No more. He blessed them to have them. Number 2, he wanted to curse them that the Shekhinah, God's presence, should not reside within them. He blessed them that the Shekhinah should reside with them. How? Mishkenotecha Israel. mishkenotecha, from Shekhinah. The Shekhinah, God's presence, should reside with you, O Israel. Number 3, he wanted to curse them that their kings will not have a long reign, that they would be short-term kings. How did he bless the Jewish people? That they would have long-term, powerful kings. Kinhalim nitayu, that your rulers will flow like rivers, meaning in a long, long way. Number 4, he wanted to curse them that they should have no olives, no vineyards, and no fields. Meaning that's food, that's prosperity. You know how it turned into a blessing, that he blessed them to have all that? As it says, Keganot ale nahar, that you're going to have plenty of fields all over the place, all over the river. So he's having these horrible intentions, and they're actually coming out as blessings. Number 5, he didn't want the Jewish people to have even a whiff of doing mitzvot. Never mind doing a mitzvah, he didn't want them to have a smell or a whiff of doing mitzvot. You know how he blessed them? He blessed them as follows, Ki ahalim nata Hashem, that you will have the smell of aloe, like aloe vera, a nice, pleasant smell, even you'll have a good whiff of doing mitzvot. Number 6, he wanted to curse the Jewish people that they should be weak. He ended up blessing them that they will be strong. As it says, Ka'arazim alemaim, like cedar on top of water. That's how strong the Jewish people will be. And can you imagine Balak? Balak standing there, he's like, stop, just cut this out. You're supposed to be cursing them, you're ending up blessing them. This is crazy. Okay, number 7, he wanted them to have rulership in a chaos. What's the greatest chaos of a country is when a king passes away. What's the greatest stability for a country is when the son of the king takes over. So he wanted to bless them that you should have no king, son of kings. How did he bless them? He really ended up blessing them that you should have always king, son of king. As it says, Yidal maim mi dalyav. That water should be taken from its own vessel, meaning king, son of king. Number 8, he wanted to curse the Jewish kings that they would not have any power amongst other kings, amongst the nations of the world's kings. And how? On the contrary, he blessed them that they will have power with the other kings or against the other kings. V'zar'o b'mayim rabim. Rather, your children, your offspring will be amongst all the waters and control all the waters. Next is number 9 was he wanted that the Jewish kings will not be able to overcome anyone else, and then he blessed them that they will be able to overcome Amalek, as it says, V'yarom me'agag malko, Agag the king of Amalek. The last one, he wanted the fear of the Jewish kings to be completely diminished, and the fear of the kings were actually blessed. As it says, V'tinaseh malchuto, that their kingdom and their kingship will rise. So in short, Balaam planned to curse the Jewish people in 10 ways. He ended up blessing them in those very 10 ways. King Balak is mind-boggled. He is distraught. He is beside himself for what is going on, and to the point where he just says, enough is enough, just stop. I don't want to give them 100 blessings. 10's bad enough. Okay? And that's where they ended off. They parted their ways. Before we just get to the Zera Shimshon, out of these 10 blessings, none of them took place. Okay? Now, they didn't take place for the very fact that the Jewish people were not worthy of all these blessings. If you think of it, these are like amazing blessings. This is like everything's there. We actually learn how to bless from the way Balaam blessed. But none of them took place except for one, the first one. And this one God gave to the Jewish people as a gift. Because, can you imagine if the Jewish people didn't have a place of worship, a place of study? Unfortunately, be completely disconnected from God. The only way to connect to God is through study and prayer. I say this all the time, I'm going to say it again. The Rogachover said that when you pray, you are speaking to God. And when you learn Torah, God is speaking to you. If that connection, chas v'shalom, would have been severed, then unfortunately, there would be no hope for the Jewish people. Hashem never leaves a Jew in a situation of no hope. So even though the Jewish people were not worthy of all 10 of these blessings, especially not everlasting, he still gave them the first one. Balaam blessed them. Of Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov. Wow, how great are the tents of the Jewish people. How great, that's the secret to their success. That's the secret to them lasting. Because if they do not talk to God and they don't open and learn Torah and allow God talk to them, it's over. Hashem never closes Daltet Teshuvah, the doors of repentance. And therefore, He gave it to them as an ultimate gift. With having that in mind, we're going to move to the Zera Shimshon. And the Zera Shimshon analyzes this verse of Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Israel, translated as, how goodly are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. And there's a lot to ask on this verse. However, the Zera Shimshon hones in on one question, one word, in my opinion, just as an opportunity to teach us something fascinating. And listen to what it is. He says, what's the need for that first word of ma tovu ohalecha? How goodly are your tents? It could have just said tovu ohalecha or tov ohalecha. Why do you need ma? How? It seems like an unnecessary word. Fair? Good question? Maybe? Let's see the answer. In order to answer, he is about to teach us, and we're going to learn, the secret of the power of a mezuzah. Now, we know that mezuzot are placed not only at the front door, but on every door in our house. Every door in our business. Except the restrooms. It's not kavod, it's not honorable. But the mezuzah is placed. What is, Zera Shimshon says, what is the secret of a mezuzah? What's so powerful about a mezuzah? Okay, so we know that in the mezuzah we have the first paragraph of Shema Yisrael. What's so important of having Shema Yisrael on our doors? Is that so important? So listen to what he quotes. He quotes the Rekanati. Has anyone ever heard of this great rabbi? He's also, like the Zera Shimshon, an Italian chacham. The Rekanati. Some can say Rekanati, some say Recanti. He was an Italian chacham, scholar, rabbi, author in the 13th century from Italy. Like the Zera Shimshon, but the Zera Shimshon was in the 18th century. This is from the 13th century. And he wrote a very special book, named after his own name, the Rekanati, on the Torah. However, it's a very mystical and Kabbalistic work. In that book, the Rekanati writes, you know what the yesod, the foundation, the secret of a mezuzah is look at the word. How does the Torah refer to a mezuzah? It's really in plural, mezuzot. He says if you take the word mezuzot, the first letter is a mem, the last letter is a taf, and in the middle you have zaz or zuzu. Okay? Listen to what he writes. He says that if you put a mezuzah on your door, you are zaz mavet. Take the mem and the vavs and the taf, that's mavet, that's death. Zaz, you shoo away, you move away death, you repel death from your house when you have a mezuzah on your door. Now this, by the way, makes a lot of sense. If anyone takes a mezuzah, see in the mezuzah, okay? This is in its case already, but if you look in closely, you have three letters that are written on the back of the parchment. And that is a shin, and a dalid, and a yud, which is a name of God. It also is an acronym for Shomer Daltot Israel, that God is the guardian of the doors of the Jewish people. By putting this on, we are attesting that we are welcoming God to protect us and to zaz mavet, to shoo away and push away death from one's home. And this is one of the reasons why a mezuzah brings protection to our house. Continuing the Zera Shimshon, he quotes the Zohar, and this fits in beautifully. Listen to this. The Zohar says, God comes to the Jewish people, and he says, put my name on your door frames, and I will protect you. Put my name. Perfect. Shin, Dalid, and Yud is one of God's very own names. Put that by your door, and I'll protect you. Do you know where the source of mezuzah comes from? It comes from back in the time of the very good, by the Makot, the Makat Bechorot, the slaying of the firstborn, the 10th plague. God comes and tells Moses, get them to slaughter the Pesach sacrifice and put the blood on the doorposts. And that will be a sign for me to know, do I go or do I don't go? We learned, by the way, that it wasn't those that really made the difference. If there was a Gentile in there, well, they would go down. And if a Jew was in a Gentile's house, well, they would be safe. But this is for us. It's for us to have that belief and for that sign that this is a place of God. This is a place of where God's name is. The Zohar says, if you take the word mezuzot, if you take the middle letters of Zayin Vav, anyone do quick math, Gematria? The numerical value of Zayin is 7. And Vav is 6. What's 7 and 6? 13. Another 7 and 6? 26. That's the name of God. He says, when you have the name of God in your house, there's no memtet, there's no death. There's no memtaf. There's no death. As long as you have the name of God in your house, it's on your door, there's no death. Now the Zera Shimshon says one more thing. He says, the Talmud has a halacha. We're not noheg like this. It's not our tradition. However, the basic halacha is that a synagogue does not need a mezuzah. Why? No, that's what Korach said. Korach said, what if I have a house full of Torahs? Do I need a mezuzah on my front door? He's trying to make a mockery out of Moses and the Torah. So that's not the reason why. The reason why the Talmud says that a synagogue does not need a mezuzah, and again, I'm putting in parentheses, our tradition is that we also put by synagogues, and we also make a blessing when we put it by synagogues. However, the Talmud says, you know why? Because a synagogue is a makom shel chaim. It's a place of life. Why is a synagogue a place of life, may I ask you? What is the purpose of a synagogue? This is different than a yeshiva or a study hall or a kollel. Okay? The reason why synagogues are instituted is because they are a mini mikdash me'at. After the temple was destroyed, it's a junior synagogue, it's a junior temple, a junior bet hamikdash. Okay? Why? We used to have sacrifices. We used to have the altar that sacrifices were brought upon. Once that was destroyed, then tefillah, prayer, was instituted. The Amidah, the silent prayer, was instituted only after the temple was destroyed. There was no prayer beforehand. What was the Mizbeach? What was the Bet HaMikdash, the altar and the temple? That was a place that gave life, because that is what connected God to the Jewish people. And that brings life. So a synagogue, which now is a bad, but it's the closest thing to a replacement of the temple, is a makom shel chaim. It's a place of life, and therefore, since it's a place of life, a mezuzah is not needed. Again, traditionally we put it on. But a synagogue is a place of life. Now comes the Zera Shimshon and answers. Why is the Torah telling us? Why is Bilam's words, Ma tovu ohalecha? Why didn't it just say tovu ohalecha? He again reverts back to the gematria, the numerical value. If you take the words Ma tovu, if you count them up, it gives you 66. Guess what the gematria, the numerical value of Chaim is? Not 66. 68. So you take Ma tovu, okay, which is 66. Each word you give an extra point to. That's a way that we do use in gematria and calculating numbers. Gives you 66. 66 plus 2 is 68, just like Chaim. Bilam was hinting, he says, you know what's so powerful about the ohel, about the tent of the Jewish people? It's the fact that they have a mezuzah on there. It's the fact that they have chaim there, life. It's the fact that they are zaz mavet. They keep death away by having Hashem's name, the Zayin Vav, at their door. Bilam prophesied this. He didn't really understand, but God went in, took him over, and made him bless the Jewish people that their ohel, their tents are so blessed, it's full of life. Ma tovu, which is the same term, gematria, the same numerical value as chaim. Ohalecha Yaakov, look how great your tents are. Now, the Zera Shimshon then asks, well, why is it the tents of Jacob? Why can't it be like the end of the pasuk, Mishkenotecha Israel? Let it be, Matovu Alecha Israel. Why Jacob? Yes, we know we are considered Bnei Israel, Bnei Yaakov. We know Jacob and Yaakov, it was the same person. He had two names. But why say Yaakov? Yaakov stood for, his character trait was Emet. There was Chesed by Abraham, loving kindness. There was Din and judgment for Isaac. And there was Emet, truth for Jacob. As the prophet says, Titen Emet LeYaakov. Give truth to Jacob. Very nice. If you take the word Emet, the Zera Shimshon says, how do you spell Emet? Aleph, Mem, Tet.
Taf.
Sorry. Aleph, Mem, Taf. Okay? If you take the letter Aleph, spelled like it's written in the Torah, and Aleph is really comprised of two Yuds and a Vav, which gives us the numerical value of 26, which is Hashem's name. He says when a person lives with truth, when a person falls in the way of truth, in the way of God, they have emet, it's truth. As soon as you take away God from the equation, what are you left with? Met. Death, unfortunately. And that's why it's crazy. It all fits in. It's all one circle. And that's why it's Ma tovu uhalecha Yaakov, because Yaakov stood for Emet, and that Aleph is Hashem's name, 26. And when you have Hashem's name, it's truth. Hashem's name is gone. Unfortunately, it is Met. It is unfortunate death. Yaakov, the Zera Shimshon finishes off and says, he never died. The Talmud says Jacob never died. We learn from the fact that Jacob never died that tzaddikim, when they pass away, they're still called alive. The Zera Shimshon, we've spoken about this, it's in the recording somewhere. If you want, I'll send it to you. The Zera Shimshon has a whole long explanation on how he proves that Jacob never really died, at great length. I have a whole hour on it. I'll send it to you. Okay? And the Zera Shimshon says, you know why Jacob never died? Is because he always stuck to the truth. Sticking to the truth means including the Aleph, meaning Hashem's name, the number 26 in your life. It means being aware of what is true, what is right, what is wrong. We all have a choice in life. We have the choice to say the truth. We have the choice to fuzz out the truth. I mean, no one wants to be an outright liar, but I could just omit something. That's a lie too. You know, there's a story of a great rabbi, and he's so great no one even knows his name. Okay. And this is way beyond us, but it's just an example of how truthful a person should try to be. Someone asks you, what time is it? So you look at your watch and you say, it's 9:12, right? Is it really 9:12? If you check your phone, it's going to tell you 9:13. If you check another watch, it's going to tell you 9:11. If you look at your friend's watch, it's going to say 9:15. What time is it? So you could say, so this rabbi used to say, it's about 9:12. It's around 9:15. Because you never know exactly what time it is. Now if you have this watch that has a satellite connection, or if you're looking at it from the phone, then probably it's the right time, granted. This is far beyond us. I'm not telling you to now be a person who becomes neurotic about when someone asks you what time it is, to be careful on saying what time it is. But if certain people go to such great lengths for something so petty as we take it, how much more so should we hone in and pay attention to things that do make a difference, such as omitting important information when recounting something, or saying something, or being very truthful, honest. It's hard. It's temptation. It's one of the greatest Yetzer Haras, of saying the truth and being honest. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. And therefore, Yaakov Avinu lived with that truth, and he never really passed. So what we're learning from tonight's Zera Shimshon, which is a massive chidush, is that when we put this on our doors, we're not just putting it on and making a blessing, and the Shema is in here, so cute, so nice. You know, I have a neighbor that lives across the street from me, a Gentile, and she said, Rabbi, I want you to come bless my house. So I came over to bless her house. Why not? You bless everybody. Blessing's nice. The same way you're supposed to accept the blessing from everybody, you can bless everybody. You wish them well, why not? They're not horrible, they're not a bad person. So I come to the door, and I see on the door a mezuzah. I'm like, what's this doing? Oh, I have a Jewish friend. She's so nice. She bought it for me. Or I asked her to buy it for me to put it on. Can you bless my mezuzah? And I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? Well, it's already on. I obviously didn't make a blessing like Baruch Atah Hashem, and I wasn't going to rip it off because at the end of the day, you can even order these things online. We don't know where they end up. So I put my hand on the mezuzah and I say, may God bless you, bless everyone in the house, bless your doggy, bless everything over here, and I kiss the mezuzah. But these things are not just something you buy. We all know the joke about the mezuzah, right? Someone came to somebody, they saw the mezuzah on, and they're looking through and they see there's nothing in the box. They're saying, well, where's the scroll? They're saying, those instructions? I threw them out. What do I need the instructions for? It's not the box that matters. Yes, a nice box means something. It's beautifying the mitzvah. But the mitzvah is the instructions. That's the instructions to life. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. That's what matters most. And therefore, when we put them on the door, we should have a tremendous blessing, and we should have the intention. Hashem, protect us. Protect us from premature death. Protect us from hardship, from sadness. Protect my children, my spouse, my guests. Allow me to host in this home. This is the intention we should have when we put up the mezuzah. The intention of, Hashem, I'm putting this on as a testification that I want your name here, because I want your name to repel any bad things. All those curses that Balaam had intention on the Jewish people, Hashem, I want this over here because I want the opposite. Like they came out, I want all those blessings to take place. I want your name to be the first thing. It's our mantra when we walk in and we walk out. Now yes, there's the question, do I need to kiss a mezuzah every time I walk in and walk out? You don't need to kiss a mezuzah every time you walk in and walk out. But I tell you one thing, if you feel connected when you walk into a room, that you see the mezuzah and you touch it and you kiss it, keep on doing it. It's a nice thing. It's not an obligation, let's be clear. But if you connect to it, and if that's something that reminds you, it's like kissing tzitzit. Is it a mitzvah to kiss tzitzit when you wear tzitzit? No. But it's something that gives you a physical connection to that mitzvah. If the only time we think about a mezuzah is whenever we put it up, that's not the point. The point is to know that it's there. So if seeing it is good enough, that's nice. If touching it and kissing it is, well, let that be how it connects to you. Again, having the name of God on our doorways, having the blessing of God, of repelling any harm from ourselves, from our families. May the merit of the Zera Shimshon give a complete refuah shlema and spare all of Am Yisrael from death and hardship, and only see happiness and bracha and good things. Amen v'amen.